Hey guys, welcome to my kitchen. This is going to be the first of many videos where I'm cooking with you guys directly versus doing a voiceover. Voiceovers are cool, don't get me wrong, I fuck with the voiceovers. However, I do want to make this more personal. I want to make this feel like you're watching a real cooking show because one day I will be on your TV fucking cooking, but for now, it will be on YouTube and potentially Instagram. So again, thank you guys. It is Eating with Aldene, Eat Clean with Aldene, Cooking with Aldene. I'm cooking, I'm Aldene, and you're about to see what's going on, so let's fucking get it. So all of us always have just like bullshit in our fridge. We have little scraps and leftovers of things and like what to do with it. You know what I mean? Like you look at it in the fridge, you see it, and you know it can be used for something, but you're not exactly quite sure what. Well, today I'm going to show you what you can do with certain things that you have in your fridge. So today what I had in my fridge left over is pack about 2 pounds of chicken tenderloin, which I cubed up, I already washed. And I will link a video either somewhere here or just in the description about how to properly wash your meat. We wash meat around here. We're washing meat on this fucking channel. So if that's something you're not accustomed to, you're gonna learn today. And if that's something you do, then bless you. You know, I knew there was something about you. I knew you vibed for reasons because you wash your meat. Cool. I also had a zucchini. Almost always have zucchini lying around. These are great to use as noodle substitutes. These are great to use as fillers. These are just a great all-around sturdy vegetable, high water content. We also have some mushrooms here. We have 4 mushrooms, which is not a coincidence. Like, who the fuck buys 4? So I know my dad probably bought this to make what I'm making because we're kind of like this. So again, there's mushrooms in my fridge. I have some tomatoes, which I was actually going to use last week for a taco party that I... No one even uses the house phone. Why do we still have this? Just give me 1 second. Sorry about that. So we have some tomatoes here that I was going to use last week at a little taco party that I had for my birthday. They were underripe as shit. They tasted like trash last week. So they've been sitting in the fridge, which is not the right place for them to ripen, but they have been sitting in the fridge since Saturday. Today is Tuesday, so hopefully there's a little more sweetness to them. The sauce we're cooking with is tomato based, so if these ones are a bit more acidic, I'm hoping that the sauce can sweeten it up a little bit. We have basically a whole red onion. I almost never cook with red onion or use it, but I did have it on hand for, again, my taco party. No one fucks with onions, so these were already chopped up. I minced them up in my food processor, and we're gonna use this because, again, we're cleaning out the fridge, we're making use of things that we have, we're not trying to be wasteful. I also have about 6 cloves of garlic here. Personally, you can never have too much garlic. Like, I fucking love garlic. I also just dropped one, so we are gonna have that. This is a really simple dish. I'm gonna use some, try not to show the brand, I'm going to use some store-bought tomato pesto. If you're familiar with regular pesto, which is basil based, it typically has pine nuts or some sort of nut as well as Parmesan cheese, and it's blended with olive oil. It's amazing. If you've had basil pesto, tomato pesto is similar. However, in place of the basil, most times it's sun-dried tomatoes. It varies by recipe, by company, yada, yada, yada. We also have some Smart pasta. This one I will show you the brand for. Shout out to Catelli. So this pasta is different than normal pasta because it's white pasta plus fiber. Like, let's be straight. I'm always trying to be as health conscious as possible. I'm not eating no fucking whole wheat pasta, fam. It tastes like shit. I'm not eating no fucking whole wheat pasta. I'm telling you that right now. So I would rather eat a white one that's enriched than eat a whole wheat one just to say I'm eating it. So boom. Otherwise, we have seasonings, which I will go more in depth on once we actually season the meat. So you have an idea of what we're working with here. Just a few basic things. Most of these things you will have in your fridge. If you don't have them in your fridge, feel free to use whatever you do have on hand. Normally I have sweet peppers. They are molding. I need to dash them, so I'm not using them. Sometimes I may have frozen spinach on hand in the freezer. I don't have that today. So again, don't feel as if recipes are a strict guideline as to, or a strict template rather, as to something you need to stick to. Think of them as a guideline. So you can alter them, you can adjust them, you can change them to your liking. You know what I mean? The world's your oyster. Boom. So let's get into seasoning the chicken. Actually, my water is boiled, so I'm going to pop in the pasta. I'm not going to bother to film things which I feel are a waste of time. I don't want to say a waste of time, but I want these videos to be educational. I want them to be engaging. I want them to be informative. I want them to be funny as fuck, but I also don't want to waste your time showing you filler shit like how to boil pasta. That being said, I will have a whole how-to catalog on specific things. So for instance, how to wash your meat, how to debone meat, things like that, how to wash and care for produce, how to chop, how to mince, things of that nature, which is showing you the base techniques. I will have separate how-to videos on that. So that way they're a little more focused and they're shorter and you can kind of just digest the information. But in these types of videos, I really more want to talk you guys through it. I want to give you guys idea, get the wheels turning a bit, and show you how I put things together more so than the technique itself. So let's put the pasta into the water, and then when we come back, I'm going to season up the meat. So I know there's big debate over whether or not you should put oil in the water when you're boiling pasta. I can go into the science of it to explain why some people would agree that it doesn't make sense. I can also understand why some people would agree that does make sense. What I'm going to say is I'm using a type of pasta that has ridges. I'm using a penne rigate. The ridges help adhere the sauce to the pasta. So if you then put oil, which is a lubricant, in said water with said pasta, it will not help your sauce adhere to the pasta, which is why most people would disagree with putting oil in the pasta. Again, it depends on what you're making. Let's say you're making macaroni pie, for instance, or some type of pasta bake. I would then put a little bit of olive oil in the water because I don't want the pasta to stick once it cools before I mix it. You know when you're eating like a pasta bake and you can tell the pasta wasn't like separated before the sauce and shit got mixed in? That's typically what you're trying to avoid. So long story short, it depends on what you're making. I did not put olive oil in that water. I know I said I wasn't going to show this. I'm not really going to show it, but I don't want like weird jump cuts in this, even though there will be. So I figured we just talk through it. So I'm using about 2 pounds of pasta here. I'm going to use the whole box. Here's why. Because every time I don't use the whole box, you have like 1/4 left. And it's like, what the fuck am I going to do with 1/4 of pasta? You know what I'm saying? And the times that I don't use all the pasta are always the times I wish that I did. So I used a full box of pasta. This one has 375 grams. And what I'm going to do is, my pasta tongs here, give this a quick stir. You want to make sure that the water is highly salinated, aka there's lots of salt in this bitch. Cool. So now we're going to start seasoning our chicken, our meat. So it's already been washed with just water and vinegar. I've already cubed up my tenderloins. The first thing I'm going to do is crack some black pepper. I fucking love this pepper mill. Like, you know, ground black pepper that you get, it's cool. You know, it's fine. It's convenient. But sometimes it's not all about convenience. Sometimes it's about doing things yourself to get the best results. So cracking your pepper is definitely one of those things that if you can, I would highly suggest you do invest in a pepper mill. Even a mortar and pestle. I have a mortar and pestle, and if I'm doing like big batches of things and I don't want to be grinding this all day, I will in fact put the peppercorns in the mortar and pestle. To this, I'm also going to add some onion powder. I'm not using measurements. I'm cooking as it comes to me, going with the flow. I think most people who are naturally inclined to cook and love cooking, regardless or not if they have training, typically will not use measurements. I'm in culinary school right now, so obviously measurements are key in them wanting us to keep it consistent. But when I cook at home, there's no way in hell I'm fucking using no measurements. Unless I'm baking. Baking is a science and you need measurements. But for cooking, it's all feel, baby. It's all feel. So now I'm adding in some all-purpose seasoning. I do not use seasonings with salt because I add salt. We don't play that shit in my house. We like to always be aware of our salt intake and monitoring it and adjusting it ourselves. So I recommend using seasoning blends that are saltless. Again, for the main fact that you can adjust the seasoning yourself. So that was some onion powder. Personally, I prefer granulated onion. Onion powder does work as a thickening agent, which could be beneficial in the sauce. Typically, we have granulated onion. So I can show you what, let's see if this will focus, what garlic powder looks like. Okay, so garlic I fucking kill myself. This is granulated. So granules, it's small little pieces. It's like sand, if you will, versus the onion powder that I put in prior is more like icing sugar in terms of consistency. Onion powder there. Everyone makes their food differently, you know what I mean? Some people like to season their meat in the pot. Some people like to season it before as well as in the pot. I do both. It's your preference. There's no right or wrong way to cook. Don't let anyone make you feel as if how you're cooking is incorrect. There are certain things, like technically speaking, like if you do this, you will not produce a certain outcome. But in terms of flavor pairing, it's all subjective. Whatever you want, go for it. A little bit of oregano. That's way too much. Okay. Boom. I love the flavor of oregano. Greek and Mexican oregano taste different. I try to use the appropriate one when I'm making the appropriate cuisine, but if I don't have that access, I use what I have. Some chili flakes, sparingly on this, only because I'm going to brown the meat before I mix it with the pasta sauce. And again, you can always add, but you can't take away. That's the number one thing I think I've learned through all the times I fucked up cooking, is you can always add, you cannot take away. So it's better to be a little bit shy or modest with it and then add. Almost done with the seasonings here. We are going to add some rosemary. Rosemary is a very nice earthy flavor. It's pretty bold. Oh, I love the smell and the taste. It's a little bit piney. I would say if you're unfamiliar with what rosemary is, it looks like pine needles. Can you see that? Yeah. It looks like little pine needles. It has a scent reminiscent of pine. It's very strong, so use a little bit. Also, I crush up my rosemary before I add it into anything. Most times people use rosemary dried, although you can use it fresh. And most times I break it up in my hand to release some of the oils first, versus just using the whole leaves dried. Boom. The last thing I'm going to add into this is salt. I'm going to salt the meat. That is not enough. The more you cook, the more you will have a good eye also for things like salt. Salt is probably the trickiest seasoning to use. It's very finicky. You can easily have too much or you can easily have too little. And now I'm going to get in here with my hand. If your hand's not in it, you ain't doing it right, baby. I cracked myself up. Yo, you have to put your hand in this though. Like, you know, I tried being bougie a couple years ago. You know what I mean? Not getting in here with my hand like I was raised to do, and it didn't work out. And I'm wondering, like, why does my food not have like soul in it? Like, it doesn't taste like I cared about it. It just tastes like I put it together and it tastes good, but it didn't have that love. I wasn't putting my hand in it. Gotta mix it. Technically speaking though, depending on what you're making, try not to handle the meat too much because the temperature of your hand will change the temperature of the meat. Professionally speaking, if you are in an environment where the temperature of the surrounding area is also warm and you're worried about the meat being in the danger zone, try not to handle it too much. And once you are done handling it, pop it in the fridge until you're ready to use it. But it's not the case today. This is a pretty quick meal. Like, this has probably been the longest part of it so far. I'm going to smell it to adjust the seasoning because obviously I'm not tasting no fucking raw chicken. Boom. The more you cook as well, the more you can season just by smelling. So hopefully the more you cook, you will be able to hone that skill as well. And now I'm going to wash my hands. Okay, so I'm sure you can hear the water is boiling. Now for the fun stuff, to cut up what I have. So again, just cut whatever you have on hand, however you like to do it. Typically in my house for zucchini, we like them in like half moons. So I'm going to stay consistent and do them in half moons. Slice through it. Shout outs to my knife set because this is new and sharp as a motherfucker. Amazing. Sharp knives. Sharp knives are crucial. I once cut through my finger so badly I almost lost the tip of it. I had to taxi to the hospital and then walk back to fucking work after. Shoutouts to the workplace that I was at when that occurred. That was not fun, but I learned. I was using the knife improperly at the time, so I mean I had it coming. But you live and you learn, right? Sharp knives are crucial because a dull knife will not cut through whatever you're trying to cut through properly and will probably end up slipping, and that's what causes you to get cut. Not necessarily the dullness of the blade, it's that you have less control when the blade is dull. I'm now going to crush up my garlic. As my parents say, you want to season the board, so they like to do their aromatics first, really season it up. But again, since my onion's already chopped up today, which is fucking rare, it's only the garlic I'm doing. My pasta's almost done boiling here, and I just turned on the stove underneath my wok. We're international over here. I'm black, cooking Italian food in a Chinese wok, but you know, use what you have. The wok is what works best for us when making one pot dishes, because it evenly distributes the heat and the sides are high enough, versus if we were to use a skillet, by the time you add in the pasta, it overflows. So I have my garlic here. This pasta's almost done. If your pasta boils over, lower the heat, but if you're keeping an eye on it, it should not. Also, you want your pasta to be a little bit al dente because we are going to be mixing it in the pot with the chicken and the sauce. So don't want to fully cook it. And the condensation right now is fucking real, but if I turn on the fan, you guys won't be able to hear me, so sorry, Mom. Now I'm gonna dice up my garlic. So last week I had a taco party, right, for my birthday, and it wasn't really a party, it's more like a taco line. It was a get together. I used my food processor for the first time to mince onion and garlic. Like, what the fuck was I doing before, bruh? It actually changed my life. Shoutouts to Bay for getting me my Ninja food processor for my birthday, for my 22nd birthday, yeah. So yeah, I finally used the food processor to fucking mince up onion and garlic, and I'm like, yo, what was I doing the whole time? Like, it was so much faster. Again, I was cooking in a large batch. I was cooking for 20 people is what I was projecting. So if you're doing large catering orders or you just don't want to spend as much time, you could definitely just quarter up the onion, peel the garlic, and dash everything in the food processor at once. You can even throw in your tomatoes if you'd like. Basically, use the gadget to suit your needs. So if you're looking to mince everything one time, then using a food processor may be your best bet. Keep in mind, you're not going to necessarily be adding in the ingredients at the same time. I think that often gets overlooked. You chop everything up at once because you're trying to save time and save dishes, and then you're like, fuck, I'm not trying to add this at the same time. Oh my god, no. So yeah. Boom. Cool, so that is done. Let me do the mushrooms because these are delicate. So I'm going to use my paring knife for this. Cut off the stem. Some people keep the stems, like it's your prerogative. I don't even really like mushrooms. Like, I really don't. I'm trying to get better at eating them. And pasta is probably one of the only ways I incorporate mushrooms into my diet, quite frankly. And I'm just trying to get the stem out here. Just taking my small paring knife inside the base. Like, you don't have to do this. I'm just being extra because I want to practice my skills. You can definitely just rip out the stem. For instance, create some space in there with your fingers. Reach, twist. It looks more fucked up though, so. Okay, last one I'll do with my finger. Nope, I will not. I will do it with the knife. That didn't work out well. No? Okay. Okay, keep it up. So now we have our mushrooms. That pasta's almost done. That pasta is done. Boom. So now I'm going to drain my pasta. Let's go over to the sink, shall we? So now I'm shocking my pasta with some cold water. Okay. Wow. This is hard to do with one hand. Shout out to all the other people who cook on YouTube with one hand. It is difficult. Okay. So yeah, boom. I'm gonna let this pasta drain and cool down. The reason that we shock this with the cold water is to stop the cooking so that the pasta doesn't overcook and become like gluggy and soggy. That's a no-no. Okay, cool. So the pasta is draining. I'm gonna quickly dice up these mushrooms. I mean, there's no rush. Like the wok is on medium heat, but that's fine. I really don't like mushrooms. I understand why people like them. They like the earthiness and the woodiness. I can't stand the texture. It's like a weird rubbery texture that I've been trying to get over my whole life. And as you guys will soon find out about me, I don't have very many preferences, I should say. I'm not too specific when it comes to food. There are a few foods I don't fuck with, and mushrooms is one of them. But I'm growing. You know, your palate changes, you evolve, so I'm trying something new. Like, this just looks like a lot. God. This is only the fourth mushroom I'm slicing. I'm here talking shit about it's a lot. Look, man, living testimony. You gotta practice. You gotta try things that you don't like. Now, to make this easier, I'm gonna turn this. Give it one more rough chop so that I'm able to mince it finer. Here's my thing. If I am going to eat mushrooms, which again is probably only in pasta or like a roasted veggie pesto sandwich, very specific. If I am going to eat mushrooms, I like them minced small because I do like the woody and the earthy flavor. I just want them small, yo. I'm not trying to have no big piece of mushroom in there. I would like to try a portobello burger. So that's just when they take a portobello mushroom and they use the big cap, they pop out the stem and they grill it and use that as the burger, essentially what would replace the meat. I have not tried it, but I have tried very well cooked portobellos and it was amazing. It was amazing. Shout out to my dad for buying different types of mushrooms. We normally just use cremini mushrooms, the white ones. I think those are probably my least favorite. But once we start experimenting with color and texture, I'm more game. So just chopping these up. Like, they're just big and awkward to cut. Like, I'm not trying to make a mess. What culinary school has taught me so far, we're only like 3 weeks in though, but more than anything is keeping my space clean. Like how I have my mise en place right now, organized, everything in its place. I will say that is something I am very happy about. Did I just melt that? No. Okay. Boom. Last but not least, the tomatoes. These sus tomatoes from last week. Okay, boom. So now for the fun part. We're about to put everything together. So I have some EVOO right here, extra virgin olive oil. I'm going to get some of that into the pan. Looks like a lot, but not really. So I'm actually going to put in the chicken first because this is hot, as you can see. A bit more oil. I'm going to add the onions and garlic. Still want to brown off my chicken a little bit more. But I don't want to overcook chicken. I feel like cooking chicken is the hardest protein. If you can cook chicken and keep it juicy, you're bomb. Because cooking chicken and not overcooking it is very difficult. Like, I still struggle with it, to be honest. Steak, I could do a perfect steak. Medium well, medium to medium well. I'm not really a medium rare type of gal unless the cut of steak is thin enough. Fish is pretty easy as well, but chicken is the hard one. Everyone likes chicken. It's versatile. It's easy. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, overcook that bitch and see how much you like chicken then. And my garlic. I mean, it looks like a lot, but I would probably use the same amount of white onion as I am red onion here. And red onion is a milder flavor. So So it's fine. I know it looks like a lot. You can really see how the wok is cooled down again once the liquid has been released. So I'm going to keep an eye on this over here in this corner while this sweats out. This is a quick dish. I promise this is only taking longer because I'm filming and getting in the groove of it. But if you were just to cook this straight through at home, this should not take you from prepping it to finish. It should not take you more than an hour total. The actual cooking time is probably about 30 to 40 minutes plus the prep. Okay, so the onions and garlic have sweated down a bit. It's just been about 2 or 3 minutes. And oh, it smells amazing. I'm going to add my tomatoes next. This is going to release a lot of liquid, so I'm going to turn the heat up a bit. And let this do its thing for a few more minutes. While it's doing that, I'm actually going to also add the mushrooms, because mushrooms also release a lot of water. Zucchini, I typically always add last when I'm making pasta. Sorry if the fan is loud, by the way. Zucchini, I typically always add last because overcooked zucchini is so gross. Ugh. These veggies will basically take the longest because no one wants to eat semi-cooked mushrooms, and same goes for tomatoes. So these will soften up. I'll come back and check on them in a few minutes, and we're almost done. Okay, so I added in the zucchini. I let it simmer down a bit, and as you can see, it's produced a bit of water, which again, I personally don't mind because we're tossing this with the pasta. Even though it looks like a lot of liquid, the pasta is going to absorb some. You can see that the onions, the tomatoes, and the mushrooms have broken down, which is what I like. Now, if my dad were making this, he might want everything a bit more chunky, but I like it more sauce-like in this sense, more than like a stir-fry tossed pasta. So, and now you don't even have to add pesto. You could leave this if you'd like, and this would just be like chicken with tomato sauce, and you made this using just tomatoes, so this is absolutely okay as well. I did test the flavor. It's good on everything. I needed a bit of black pepper. And now I'm going to add in the sun-dried tomato pesto. So I'm going to add a few dollops. Remember, that will also add some oil. Not too much because this flavor is a little bit strong. And again, you could always take away. Sorry, you can always add. You can't take away. Nice. So, and again, this is why I like using the wok. If I were to use a saucepan, the bottom of this would have already been burnt. But because the sides conduct heat in a wok as well as the base, sometimes I'll push up everything around so that it just cooks so much faster. And it really does, because these zucchinis have sweat down. In that time, I've started cleaning up my workstation. I did the dishes. I just have to clean off the table in the back. Ooh, this looks good. So I'm going to taste this, because tasting your food is important. Oh, that tastes so good. That tastes so fucking good. I didn't even have to add the pesto, but honestly, the pesto is just like another layer. It's missing something though. No, it's okay. No, it's good. It's a good thing we chilled with those chili peppers, because at first, whenever I make pasta dishes, you like never taste the chili flakes, and then it fucking hits the back of your throat and you feel like you're dying. So see that pasta? So I'm not sure what happened to my last clip, but this is how the pasta turned out. It was fucking delicious. So thank you for joining me on this video. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you back with another fucking Eating with Aldene video. Thanks, guys. Peace.